Brandon, how's it going, man? How's things at Yahoo?
It's going great. Yahoo's actually, there's a lot going on. We have a lot of stuff going on. We just announced LiveStand, our new tablet app, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And some of what I talked about today at the DevLearn session I was at was really about the technology infrastructure that drives LiveStand and how we could use it in learning and development contexts, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really more about how understanding, as we move towards mobile learning, it's for us to understand how our users interact with their mobile devices.
Right.
So a lot of what we focused on in the talk today was, how are users consuming content? How are they behaving with the different devices? What are the different devices? How do we come up with a content strategy so that they can traverse these multiple devices and continue their experiences across these devices? We do know that, funny, a third of all mobile consumption happens in the house.
In front of the television, which is weird, right?
In front of the television, you might have your tablet, you're tweeting about
Yeah.
the Super Bowl or whatever.
Right.
So people aren't going to have just one device, they're going to have multiple devices. Yeah. And so at Yahoo, as a company, Yahoo's focused on, well, how do we, have 100% logged in users across all these devices and let them continue or augment those experiences across these different devices. We have connected TV coming out pretty soon that's going to try to integrate some of that, some of that data and information that's coming, streams of information of what your friends are looking at, and how you can get to a TV show that's being watched right now by the 2 or 3 people that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So all that's going on, but then in our session we were like, well, how do we, because we've built a framework within Yahoo that we're actually going to open source next year that drives all of that, that personalization and those what we call transportable experiences. How do we leverage that in learning and development to, allow our learners, if you will, to take that stuff on the road with them or on the go? A lot of our users are walking around with tablets and smartphones and all of that. So
I'm glad you brought that up because this is a conversation that we have a lot, and I think a lot of people kind of approach mobile learning like this. I need an app. I don't know why, but I got 4 of them right here and I need content on them. Instead of stepping back and looking at, that user experience, that learner experience and how they interact, because that's a really important part. Instead of just converting all your flash over to an iPad,
exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the wrong approach.
Yahoo, you're exactly right. Yahoo did some research this year on what they call the 7 mobile modes. And I don't have it in front of me, but there's all sorts of modes. Modes meaning this is what a user does with their mobile device. So shop, navigate, inform, search, connect, those kinds of things. The connect mode, when they're actually SMSing, checking email, looking up information, that is when that's the most used kind of mode, the mode that they're in the most.
Right.
36% of their time on their device is doing one of those kinds of things, texting or emailing, that kind of thing. And it's always in short activity bursts. So on an average of 18 minutes a day, we're doing that mode, right? And so us understanding that from an L&D perspective, right now, even at Yahoo, people think of training as, go to a class and sit there for all day. Right. And we have to move beyond that because we have, highly smart, it's a very smart workforce. They're doing a lot of different things throughout the day, and they need a different kind of support than formal training courses would give them.
Yeah.
They're getting that content now, which is good, and I wouldn't want to try to, corral that or, get in the way of that. But from a formal learning perspective, there's certain things the business wants their employees to be able to do, to perform. So how do we get that sort of out of the classroom and stop disrupting the business so much and get it in front of whatever screen they have with them in short bursts so that they can use it effectively and in context? That's a big challenge.
It is.
I don't know how yet we do that, but I have some ideas, and that's kind of what I was talking about today. So.
Well, I think that mobile specifically is enabling that, right? It's a fantastic opportunity for people like us who worry about the learner and how their experience is and whether we're getting it to them in a timely, relevant manner and all that kind of stuff. In the past, we didn't know how to do that with e-learning. We tried, but it just really didn't offer what we needed it to do.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't resonate for a lot of people unless it's, it has to be done a certain way, I guess, and you have to have that You know, like even the keynote today where you talk about context, I think that is really key. It's hard for us sometimes to understand. Like, I support 6,000 employees across our products organization. So, no, I don't know every employee. I don't have their complete context in mind. But I do know what the business imperatives are.
Right.
And then I take that into consideration with what a career development arc, you know, may include. And then I think it's my job is to, you know, to kind of figure out how to make sure that there's some competencies there, you know, that the business wants and that I can get to these people without constant disruption. So like, you know, theoretically almost every day is launch day. We're launching something constantly. We have over 70 properties. So I can't, you know, I had a 5-day training class on mobile recently, it was 7, and I can't take engineers out of work for 5 days and put them in class. The business isn't going to allow it. So I've got to think of ways to get more creative. And you know, e-learning is still something we leverage, it's something we use. Honestly, for engineers, it's not, the engineers we have at our company, they're very skeptical of it. And so it's something that doesn't really resonate yet unless it's done a certain way. And that it's kind of feels like it's relevant, not a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I think we might, instead of spending a lot of time figuring that out, we're trying to jump ahead and figure out how to get more relevant content in context to where they're at, what they're doing. In shorter bursts.
I think that's a good path. It's important, you know. I don't think that organizations should necessarily abandon the things that they do now that work, but supplement with new technologies and you know, enhance that. And as learning professionals, we're always looking for ways to reconnect the learner with that information in multiple places, right? Give them more opportunities to kind of re-engage and stuff. So
I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. So I'm glad things are going great over there at Yahoo.
Things are going great. I mean, things are going great for me. And, you know, it's a fun environment. It's very, you know, people are moving, people are doing. We've just released LiveStand, which is a great tablet app. And it's finally, it's like, okay, now we can sort of start seeing this last year and a half of unifying our technology infrastructure. We can start seeing, okay, here are some things that are actually happening and that are tangible. So we can see all that work coming to play.
And your other people out in the wild can see it.
That always sounds right.
Nice. Well, thanks again for your conversation.
No problem.
Always a pleasure seeing you.
Me.
All right.
Cool.